Let's talk about a word that, for a lot of people, probably brings up some pretty intense images of conflict and violence. That word is jihad.
But is that really what it means? I mean, the common translation is holy war, right? But what if I told you that a student who's pulling an all-nighter for an exam could actually be performing jihad? Or that taking care of your parents is considered a higher form of jihad than going into battle? Okay, let's really get into this.
And here it is, the whole misunderstanding laid out right in front of us. On one side, you've got the image we see all the time, weapons, war, violence. But on the other side, you have the actual Islamic definition, effort, struggle, hard work. So how in the world did we get from one to the other?
To figure that out, we have to go right back to the source. We've got to look at the language itself. Let's break down what jihad actually means in its original Arabic.
So the word jihad comes from this Arabic root, Jahada, and its literal meaning has nothing to do with fighting. It means to strive, to struggle, to put in a really serious effort to achieve something. So from a purely linguistic point of view, anyone working hard for a good cause is performing jihad.
And check this out. This really drives the point home. The Arabic language has very specific, very clear words for war. Words like harb or qital. If the Quran or the Prophet wanted to talk about war, they would have just used one of those words. But they didn't. They used jihad, struggle.
Okay, so we've got the language down. It means struggle. But what about in the scriptures? How is the word actually used in Islam's most important book, the Quran?
Now, this is a super important verse. It says that those who perform jahadu, which is just the verb form of jihad, in God's cause, they'll be guided. Now, notice the translation here is strive, not fight. And the story behind when this verse was revealed, well, that's absolutely critical. And here is the kicker. This verse was revealed in Mecca. This was a time when the first Muslims were being persecuted, but they were explicitly, absolutely forbidden from fighting back. That is so important because it means that jihad in this foundational verse could not possibly have meant physical war. It just couldn't. It had to mean the internal struggle to keep your faith and to just get through all the hardship.
So now that we've established it means struggle, let's see how Islam actually breaks this down. You see, it's not just one single thing, it's a whole concept with different levels and different priorities.
The highest, most important form is called Jihad-bin-Nafs, the struggle against yourself. This is the fight against your own ego, your own greed, your anger, all your bad habits. And ranked right up there with it, sometimes considered even greater, is the struggle to serve and take care of your parents.
And this idea comes directly from the Prophet Muhammad himself. He said that a true mujahid, that's someone who does jihad, isn't defined as a warrior first. They're defined as someone who fights and struggles against their own self for a higher purpose. That internal battle, that's the main event.
You know, there's this really powerful story that just perfectly illustrates this whole priority system. A man came to the Prophet and he was totally fired up, ready to go fight in a military campaign. So he asked for permission to join. But the Prophet's response, well, it probably wasn't what he was expecting. He just asked a simple question. Are your parents alive? The man said yes. And the Prophet's reply was so clear. Then perform jihad by serving them. Just think about that for a second. The daily struggle of caring for your parents was considered a more important jihad for that man than heading off to a war. Right, so if jihad is all about this complex, multi-layered struggle, with the biggest one being the one inside yourself, where on earth did this holy war thing come from? This is where we need a quick history lesson.
So get this, the term holy war isn't an Islamic concept at all. It was first used way back in the 11th century by European Christians to describe the Crusades. It wasn't until much, much later, mostly in the 20th century, that Western media started incorrectly slapping that label onto the Islamic idea of jihad. In fact, the actual Arabic for holy war, hard muqaddasa, it's found nowhere in the Quran or the Hadith. It's a foreign phrase for a foreign concept.
Now, does that mean Islam has no concept of physical combat? No, of course not. That concept exists, and it's called qital. But, and this is a huge but, it is governed by incredibly strict rules. It's only allowed in self-defense, and even then there are very clear limits. This verse says it all. Fight those who fight you, but do not transgress. You can't be the aggressor. So, when you put it all together, real jihad in the day-to-day life of a person is a totally constructive force. It's the struggle to end poverty. It's the struggle against illiteracy. It's fighting for social justice.
On a personal level, it's that battle to overcome a bad habit or just to control your temper. It's about building a better you and a better world around you. And that really brings us to the final question, doesn't it? When we want to understand something this complex, something this important, what sources are we going to trust? Are we going to go with the headlines and the sound bites, or are we going to look at the original texts and understand their context? Ultimately, that choice is up to you.